Daf Yomi, Tractate Shevuos, page 15a. Top of the page is the words V'chein ta'asu l'dorot. And so shall you do, Exodus 25 verse 9. The final words, and so shall you do, are superfluous and serve to teach, as was done in the tabernacle, so you shall do in future generations. מסדרו וכל הכלים שעשו מוישה משיחוסון מקדשתון מכאן ואילך עבודוסון מחנכתון ועמי ולמכן תעשו דיירס. Rava raises an objection from a Braita. With regard to all the sacred vessels that Moses fashioned, their anointment with oil consecrates them from that point forward. In the generations after Moses, new vessels do not require anointment to be consecrated. Rather, their use in the temple service initiates them and renders them fit for use. Rava clarifies the objection. But why is this so? Let us say here as well that the phrase, and so shall you do, teaches that the same must be done in future generations. Shani hosam yamakho b'imshechem mikadosh hoyasam hoyasam m'shicha v'loy l'doyres m'shicha. The Gemara answers, it is different there, as the verse states, with regard to the tabernacle and its vessels, and he anointed them and consecrated them. Numbers 7:1. This teaches that it is only them, the vessels fashioned by Moses, that are consecrated through anointment. Vessels fashioned in later generations are not consecrated through anointment. Emois Mashiach V'dayas Mashiach Oy Mamoino Mapapa Amakosh Yisha Suba Makoidish Tilanakas Mashiach. The Gemara asks, why not say then, them, the vessels made by Moses, he consecrated specifically through anointment, but vessels made in future generations are consecrated either through anointment or through their initial service. Rav Papa said, the verse states, and they shall take all the service vessels which they will serve in the sanctuary. Numbers 4:12. The future tense, they will serve, indicates that the verse is referring to future vessels, and the verse makes them dependent upon service, teaching that in future generations vessels will be consecrated through their initial service. Hashta dichtav Rahmana Asher yishoretu Otam lamali Ilo kasav Rahmanosam Ave Amina Riu Tiveshicha L'doires B'mishicho U'Avoida Tihokso Echetasu Miot Rachmana Oisam Oisam B'mishicha V'loy L'doires B'mishicha. The Gemara asks, now that the Merciful One has written, with which they will serve, why do I need the restrictive term, them? The Gemara answers, had the Merciful One not written them, I would say that they, the vessels made by Moses, were consecrated through anointment alone, but vessels made in later generations must be consecrated both through anointment and through service, as the Torah wrote, and so shall you do, referring to future generations. Therefore, the Merciful One excluded future vessels from anointment by stating them, teaching that it is only them that were consecrated through anointment, But in later generations they are not consecrated to anointment. Which they toides Chadash, they toides Shamu Barachman. Below Savon, Below Nimili, Mochidis Makro. Wir haben die steht heute, das Gedäulis, Besaluches, Saluchis, Liemin Malachoima. The Mishnah teaches, and with two thanks offerings, the Tana taught in Braita, and with regard to the two thanks offerings that are mentioned here, the reference is to their loaves, but not to their flesh. An animal thanks offering is accompanied by 40 loaves of bread that are brought as a meal offering. 10 loaves are leavened, and the remainder is comprised of 10, each of 3 types of leavened bread. The Gemara asks, from where are these matters derived? Rav Chisda said, as the verse states with regards to the consecration of the wall of Jerusalem in the days of Ezra, and I placed 2 large thanks offerings, and we went in procession to the right upon the wall. Nehemiah 12:31. My gedoyles, Ilemo, Mimi gadol mamash devaparim, and gedoyles b'minyan. The Gemara clarifies the meaning of this verse. What is meant by large? If we say that the animals of the Thanksgiving offering were literally from large species, for example, oxen rather than from small species, like sheep, let the verse state that they were oxen. Rather, let us say that he took animals from among the largest and the finest quality of their species. So I guess oxen that were particularly large, or maybe sheep that were particularly large. Mi'ika chashivuta kameshimaya etanya never boys pema yisherech lechoyach boys oif yisherech lechoyach milcha yisherech lechoyach melamed she'echad amarbe echad amamet bevad shichaves liboy le'aviv sheva shemayim. The Gemara challenges this. Is the size of the offering of any importance before him? But isn't it taught in the Mishnah, Menachot 110a? It is stated with regard to an animal burnt offering, a fire offering, a pleasing aroma, Leviticus 1:9. And it is also stated with regard to a burnt offering, a fire offering, a pleasing aroma, Leviticus 1:17. And it is also stated with regard to a meal offering, a fire offering, a pleasing aroma. Leviticus 2:2, the same term is used in all 3 cases, even though the 3 offerings are of different value. This teaches that one who brings a substantial sacrifice and one who brings a modest sacrifice have equal merit. And both offerings are accepted as having a pleasing aroma. Kind of reminds me of a parable, provided that one directs his heart to his Father in heaven. Kind of reminds me of a parable that was told that there were some workers in the field, and some were approached by the owner early in the morning, and some were approached later in the afternoon, but they both got paid the same. It's not exactly parallel because it has to do with the paying the person, but it is the same in the sense that whoever worked a lot and whoever worked a little, at the end of the day, it was the same. The owner decided to pay them all the same because, listen, he needed a worker at 4 o'clock p.m., but he also needed a worker at 11. So they have the same wage. Why should anyone get paid less or more? I don't actually understand that parable in that, let's say the 11 o'clock workers, they got paid, let's say $10 an hour. So they worked So they came at 9 o'clock and they worked at 5 o'clock, so they get $80, right? But is that parable saying that the guy who was contacted, let's say 4 o'clock, and he worked from 4 to 5, he got paid $80 also? Or is it saying that he got paid $10 an hour as they did? So the fact of the matter is, if a person, so that's what I don't understand about that parable. If the person who came at, let's say, 4 o'clock, and worked at 5, worked and got paid, he's getting paid a lot more than them. He's getting paid $80 an hour. But if he only worked 1 hour, then he's getting the same as them, $10 an hour. So it's their complaint. They wouldn't complain if he was just getting the same as them. That's fair. But if he was getting paid $80 just like them, then he's actually getting paid more than them. They're getting paid $10 an hour, and he's getting paid $80 an hour. They still don't have rights to complain, but he's not getting paid the same as them. He's getting paid a lot more than them. The one who comes late. So does it pay to come late? Or does it pay to come early? We don't know from this parable. So that's one of the questions, I guess, that will go down for the records. But at any rate, sacrifice one. And both offerings are accepted as having a pleasing aroma, provided that one directs his heart towards the Father in heaven. Ela gedoli shebatoide. Umayni uchametz tisdan atoide. Hoysa ba min chamesin Yerushalyois. Shehen shesh midat midboryois. Shehen shte efois ve'efa. Shalosh zin eschim yisoin. Asor lechametz. Asor lematzah. Matzah shlosh aminin. Chalos lekikinu ve'urevucha. Rather, let us say that large thanks offerings means the larger element in the thanks offering loaves. And what is that? The 11 loaves, as we learned in the Mishnah, Menachot 76b, the meal part of the thanks offering came from 5 Jerusalem safflower, which are equivalent to 6 wilderness se'ah. The se'ah referred to in the Bible when the Jewish people were in the wilderness is smaller than the se'ah used later in Jerusalem. This is equivalent to 2 ephahs, each ephah being 3 wilderness se'ah. The 2 ephahs are 20 measures of a tenth of an ephah. 10 of these tenths were used to make 11 loaves, and 10 of these tenths were used to make unleavened loaves. And the unleavened loaves were of 3 types: loaves of matzah, wafers, and measures of flour mixed with water and oil. Accordingly, the 11 loaves were 3 times the size of the unleavened ones, and it was the 11 loaves that were used to consecrate additions to the city. Amrami b'chamo, hadrami b'chamo exalt. Rabbi Chama said, "Ein azar miskadeshes ela b'shiare mincha." My time, ki Yerushalayim, ma Yerushalayim do hanechal ba mikadisho afzore davar hanechal ba mikadisha. Rabbi Chama says, one can infer from this Braita that the temple courtyard is consecrated only with the remainder of the meal offering, and not by the loaves of the thanks offering. The remainder of the meal offering is the part left over after a handful of it and its frankincense had been sacrificed on the altar. This remainder is eaten by a priest. What is the reason for this? The consecration of the temple courtyard is like the consecration of Jerusalem. Just as with regard to Jerusalem, an item that is eaten specifically in it, meaning the loaves of the thanks offering, which are eaten anywhere in the city, consecrates the city. so too with regard to the temple courtyard, an item that is eaten specifically in it, meaning the remainder of the meal offering, consecrates the courtyard. Atulach mitoida, bazoa mi lo mitachli, ela mirushalayim. Ma Yerushalayim davar hanechal ba, yotze mimena nifsal, avazora davar hanechal ba, yotze mimena nifsal. The Gemara asks, is that to say that the loaves of the thanks offering are not eaten in the temple courtyard? Rather, the comparison should be drawn as follows. The consecration of the temple courtyard is like the consecration of Jerusalem, just as Jerusalem is consecrated with the loaves of a thanks offering, which is an item that is eaten inside the city, and which, if it emerges from there, is disqualified. So too, the temple courtyard is consecrated with an item that is eaten inside the courtyard, and which, if it emerges from there, is disqualified. This item is the remainder of a meal offering, which can be eaten only by a priest and only in the temple courtyard. Ima lehanan chometz, avkan chametz, batizbera. Minchas chometz mi'iga. If the Gemara asks if the consecration of the temple courtyard is derived from the consecration of Jerusalem, let us say as follows: just as there, with regard to the consecration of an addition made to Jerusalem, the loaves used in the ceremony are leavened, so too here with regard to the consecration of an addition made to the temple courtyard, the remainder of the meal offering should be leavened. The Gemara expresses surprise at this suggestion. And how can you understand this? Is there a leavened meal offering? A meal offering is always unleavened. And now we are turning to 15b, Tesvalim and Beis, top of the page with the words of Hitema. B'chi tema din machmitz lahu v'shirayim u'mekadesh behu v'hichsiv lo tiaveh chametz chelkam v'amar ish lo hish filu chelkam lo yiseyaveh chametz. And if you would say that one leavens the remainder of the meal offering, which the priests partake of, and he consecrates the temple courtyard with it, that too is difficult, as isn't it written, it shall not be baked, leavened, for their portion I've given it to them, Leviticus 6:10. And Reish Lakish says, in the explanation of this verse, even the priest's portion shall not be baked, leavened, as it is prohibited to bake even a portion of the meal offering leavened. Alma lo efshar demikadesh b'shtei alechem be'atzeres mishum de lo efshar. The Gemara asks, still, why not consecrate the temple courtyard with a leavened meal offering? It is possible to consecrate it with the 2 loaves of bread that are brought as a communal offering on the festival of Shevuos, which is a meal offering that is leavened. The Gemara answers, because actually it is not possible to do so. The Gemara explains why not. How could we do this? If we build the addition to the temple courtyard on the eve of Shavuot and also consecrate it on the eve of the festival, there is a difficulty, as the 2 loaves become consecrated as a meal offering with the slaughter of the 2 lambs that are sacrificed together with them as peace offerings, and this occurs on the festival itself, not on the eve of the festival. If we build the addition to the temple courtyard on the eve of the Shavuot festival, but consecrate it only now on the festival, This too is difficult, as we require consecration at the time of the completion of the building. Nivnea b'yom tov, v'nikadisha b'yom tov, and binyan mikdash toicha yom tov. If we build it on the festival and consecrate it on the festival, this also cannot be, as the building of the temple does not override the festival. Nish bekeh, l'matavachti v'nivnai v'nikadishe, if we leave 2 loaves until after the festival and build the addition to the temple courtyard on the day after the festival and consecrate it by eating the 2 loaves on that day, this is difficult as well, as the 2 loaves were already disqualified by virtue of being left overnight after the festival. After the festival, after the festival, after the festival, ay, 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 ay. Nivne mimali yoimani shabe perta de ad dikadish yomali altar digmre venit kashe en binyan beisamikdash balaylo yomarabaye Minayjen binyan beis hamikdash balayla Shenamar yom makim es hamishkan Bayom makim balayla Ve'en makim hitkach lo efshar. If we build the addition to the temple courtyard on the eve of the festival and leave a little unbuilt until after the festival, and as soon as the day is over and the festival is finished, we immediately finish building the addition and consecrate it with the 2 loaves before they become disqualified, this too is impossible, as the building of the temple cannot take place at night. This is, as Abaye says, from where it's derived that the building of the temple cannot take place at night, as it is stated, and on the day the tabernacle was erected, Numbers 9:15, from which it can be derived, one may erect it during the day, but one may not erect it at night. Therefore, it is impossible to consecrate the temple courtyard with the 2 loaves. It must be done with the remainder of an unleavened meal offering. Uveshir, Tanu Rabbanan shir shel toda, v'chinorot u'nvarim u'tzantelim al kol pina u'pina, v'al kol even gedola shebiyerushalayim, ve'omer, Aromimcha Shem kiri litani. Aromimcha Adonai kiri litani lo samachta oivai li. Ve'shir shel pegaim v'yesh omrim shir shel negaim. Never heard of that. Okay, let's see what it says. The Mishnah teaches concerning the consecration of an addition to the city of Jerusalem or the temple courtyard. And with a song. The sages taught in a Braita, they sang the song of thanksgiving. Psalms chapter 100. Mizmor l'toida, na 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 na, Yod Hashem korares, Yivdu es Hashem b'simcha, lay 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 lay. Psalms chapter 10, which begins the song of thanksgiving, accompanied by harps, lyres, and cymbals, at every corner and upon every large stone in Jerusalem. And they also recited Psalms chapter 30, which begins, I will extol you, O Lord, for you have lifted me up. And the song of evil spirits, Pigaim, which is Psalms chapter 91. Okay. Yehoshua b'seser yom b'seser shalei donan, Amar l'Adonai v'achsim u'sulati v'chulei. Right? Chapter 91, which begins, right here, dwells in the secret place of the Most High. And some say this psalm is called the Song of Plagues. Okay. Ma de'amar negoim yichsiv v'nega lo yikra lo lecho u'ma de'amar pegoim yichsiv yipol mitzidcha. The reason of the one who says that it is called the Song of Plagues is that it is written, nor shall any plague come near your dwelling, Psalm 91:10. And the reason the one who says that it's called the Song of Evil Spirits is that it is written, 1,000 shall fall at your side and 10,000 at your right hand, but it shall not come near you. That's obviously talking about evil spirits. Psalms 91:7. The Omer Yehoshua b'Yisrael yon b'Tzel Chadash loinan ad ki ad until ki ata Adonai machsi elyon samta me'onecha v'chozer me'onem mizmor le'onem melchem ne'amashal u'menoi. It says Hashem morav tzarei v'chulei ad ala Hashem Yehoshua alamcha b'chasecha sela. And they recited the song from the verse, He that dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide in the shadow of the Almighty, Psalm 91, verse 1. Until they completed the verse, because you, O Lord, are my refuge, you have made the Most High your habitation. Psalms 91:9. And they would recite Psalms chapter 3, which begins, a Psalm of David, when he fled from Absalom his son. Lord, how many are my enemies become, until they reach the verse, salvation belongs to the Lord. Your blessing be upon your people. Selah, Psalms 3, verse 9, which is at the end of the psalm. It was in a song. Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi amar, Lehu lahani kra'i v'gane hechine evad hache v'ha'amar Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi asur litrapos b'dibri tayreh lehagen shani. It is related that Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi would recite these verses to protect him from evil spirits during the night and fall asleep while saying them. The Gemara asks, how could he do that? But doesn't Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi himself say one is prohibited from healing himself with words of Torah? The Gemara answers to protect oneself is different, as he recited these verses only to protect himself from evil spirits, not to heal himself. Okay. והתנן הלא יחיה של המקום אלו חלק לא ילמבו הידמן עליו רבי יוחנן ברוכי שענו לפי שאין מזכירים שם שמיים על הכיכו. The Gemara challenges, but rather when Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi said that this is prohibited, he was referring to a situation where there is already a wound and one recites these verses in order to heal himself. But if there is already a wound and he recites this verse over it, is only this prohibited and nothing more? But didn't we learn in the Mishnah, Sanhedrin 90a, that one who whispers an incantation over a wound has no share in the world to come? The Gemara answers, wasn't it stated with regard to that Mishnah that Rabbi Yochanan says the Mishnah was taught with regard to the one who spits into the ground, who spits into the wound, and then whispers these verses. And the reason for the severity of his action is that the name of heaven must not be mentioned in connection with spitting, as doing so is a show of contempt for God. Based in Mahalachim, Ushte Tayras Achayan Bukuli, Lemem de Based in Kamitoy Azli, Vaxi, Yenachavre, Shaya, Vaxi, Shari Yehuda, Hachi Kamar. Based in Mahalachim, Ushte Toidas, Mehalchois, Based in Achayan. The Mishnah teaches that as part of the consecration ceremony, the court would move forward, and two thanks offerings were brought after them, and all the Jewish people would follow behind them. The Gemara asks, is this to say that the members of the court walk in front of the thanks offering? But isn't it written in the verse from which this ceremony is derived? And I placed two large thanks offerings, and we went in procession to the right upon the wall, toward the dung gate, and after them went Hoshea and half the princes of Judah, Nehemiah 12:31 and 32. The Gemara answers, this is what the Mishnah is saying. The court moves forward. And how is this done? The two thanks offerings move forward and the court follows after them. Kates and Mahalachois. Rab Chia Rab Shimon Rebbe Chal Razu Kenegazu Chal Razu Achzu Man Jamar Zu Kenegazu Penimis Hachnu Mekarim Choyma Man Jamar Zu Penimis Hachnu Mekarim. The Gemara clarifies this point. How exactly did the two thanks offerings move forward? Reb Chia and Rabbi Shimon, son of Yehoshua and Nasi, disagree about this. One sage says the one thanks offering alongside the other, and one sage says one behind the other. According to the one who says that the two offerings moved alongside the other, the thanks offering that the Mishnah refers to as the inner one is that which is closest to the wall. According to the one who says that the two offerings move one behind the other, the thanks offering that is called the inner one is that which is closest to the members of the court, advancing behind the thanks offerings. The Gemara analyzes these 2 points. We learned in the Mishnah when they would reach the end of the place that they desired to consecrate, the inner thanks offerings would be eaten and the outer one would be burnt. Granted, according to the one who says that the two thanks offerings move forward one behind the other and that the inner one is the one that was in the rear, it is due to this that the inner one is eaten because the outer one came before it and consecrated the additional areas so that it is now a sanctified place fit for eating of the thanksgiving loaves. But according to the one that says that the two thanksgiving offerings moved forward one alongside the other, the two of them consecrated together in the additional area, why then is the inner one eaten and the outer one burned? Ulitamech ulemad mazor chadami mikadesho hakol shelo nazir mecholelu tnan befil mazor bachazor mikolelu halitavayu chadamas mitzvahi. The Gemara asks, and according to your reasoning, according to the one who says that the two offerings moved forward from behind the other, does one offering by itself consecrate the other? Didn't we learn in the Mishnah that with regard to any addition that was not made with all these ceremonial procedures, the addition is not consecrated? And even according to the one who says, C16a, that the correct reading of the Mishnah is with regard to any addition that was not made with any one of these ceremonial procedures, the addition is not consecrated. Nevertheless, these two thanks offerings are one mitzvah, and one without the other would not consecrate the area. And Rabbi Yochanan, we'll have to wait for the answer. It's a Hashem tomorrow.